Hello, everyone. Welcome. This is the Our Turf Football Podcast. 2 weeks in a row. You have all four of it. Wait, 2 weeks in a row? Were we all here last week? We were here all last week.
I believe
Good.
So, yes.
All right. So I am Dana. We have Sonia. We have Kate. We have Lisa. We are all here tonight. Thank you all for joining us. If you are watching over on Facebook, over on Twitter, please click the YouTube link, come over, join our live chat. Look, our friend John is back.
John!
So excited. It has been a little while, John. It's so nice to see you. We're excited you're here.
He came to see us be demure.
Yeah.
No. Oh, that's right. We're supposed to be demure.
Oh my God, that
And
was the funniest promo. Made me real happy. I'm not going to lie. Made me real happy. Okay, so back to normal. Okay, so welcome again, the Our Turf Football Podcast. We, of course, start our show every single week by thanking our sponsor, Donkey's Place Cheesesteak. They have 3 locations in New Jersey. They have Medford, they have Mount Holly, and they have Camden. We got a little news this week. Well, first, 2 things about donkeys. First of all, my donkeys came in this weekend. We took it down to the lake.
Yes,
Our friends that we shared it with said it was amazing. They loved it. We loved it. So once again, go to goldbelly.com and look up Donkey's Place Cheesesteaks, and you can have it shipped directly to your home. We loved every second of it. It was so good. It's delicious. Second thing, Donkeys also sponsors our fantasy football team. Contest, league, whatever. So we have 2 leagues. We have a league that we call the OG League, and it's not for me. It just means the original. So it's all the people who've been, all the women. It's an all ladies league that we do with our OGs that we've done for 10, 15 years now. But Donkeys started sponsoring the Donkeys Cup League, and that is our fan league. Sonia, it's about time. When's your draft?
Our draft is August 31st, 8:30 p.m. Be there, be square. It's going to be a great draft. We're going to have a lot of fun, like we always do. Lots of people joining us. So we're going to have fun. It's going to be a great year, great season. I'm excited. I got my name picked out.
Oh, she got a new name.
Oh,
I had the same fantasy football name for like 6 years. It's Marshawn of the Dead, but I should maybe think I can't let him go. Kate, what's your fantasy football team's name?
When Marshawn gets into the Hall of Fame, you're going to have to let him go.
I can't do it.
Yeah.
I've had a bunch of names over the years, and none I really liked. I'm going now to look and see what I named my team this year. I struggle with it. I feel like
do too.
Your name says a lot about your, so dang purdy.
My
team is so dang purdy.
Oh, for crying out loud.
I'm only going to pick pretty players when I draft. It's my new draft strategy.
It's going to be bougie draft. It's going to be a bougie draft for Kate.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm going to say hello all to our chat, everyone that's there. Hi, Big Red. Hi, John. Pretty soon, Camden's going to slide in here in a minute too. Say hello. So I am very excited about fantasy football season. And I think that it will be as cutthroat this year as it was last year. Last year got a little nasty. It was good though. A little nasty. Just because everyone was hurt, but we had so much fun. And again, with the Donkeys Cup League, we have another fantastic trophy to send out at the end of the season.
Yes. It's pretty too. I saw it, you guys. It's a pretty trophy.
It's really fun to pick those out.
It's a pretty trophy.
Yeah. And Lisa doesn't play fantasy football, so she can't join in this conversation. But that's all right, Lisa.
I can't.
I know. I don't blame you.
She said she'd play if we had a league where all 12 position spots were quarterbacks.
Oh, no. There aren't that many.
Yes.
Well, there probably are that many quarterbacks. I don't know. We'll see.
Probably could.
We'll see. Yeah.
All
right, everyone. I know. So tonight we're going to talk a lot about Lisa's favorite subject. We're going to talk about the quarterbacks quite a bit tonight. She's very excited. She got all of her notes ready. So we're just going to talk about the new rookie class of quarterbacks and how they have done so far. We're going to talk about some quarterbacks that have been named starters. Let's see. This is great from Big Red. Can I say that I was right about Spencer Rattler? He's sure to be the starter by week 3, maybe even earlier. So Lisa, and you can debate that here in just a little bit. Big Red for sure. But then we're also going to take a look at the 2023 quarterback class going into year 2 and seeing how they are doing and what they need to do this year to keep everything going in the right direction. Let's put it that way. So And then we're going to start with this topic. So let's just go ahead and jump on in. So something is going on in the preseason. There's been a lot of changes in the preseason. I know that, there have been actually a lot of the coaches have come out and say preseason is not for starters. That's what the joint practices are for, that you get more benefit from joint practices than you do from the games. We've seen a lot of participation in from like the lower levels, but not necessarily starters, unless you're Andy Reid, who throws your starters in for a whole half because he can. And we all love that about you, Andy. Thank you so much. So my friends
who still lost to the Lions. Sorry.
Tell us how you feel about that, Sonia. I love it. Yes, they did in preseason. They sure did. But it was really interesting. So there's been a lot of changes, but one of the more interesting changes, and Sonia, you brought this up to us, and I did a little digging. And first we heard about it a little bit from the LA Rams, where the head coaches were handing over basically their head coaching responsibilities or play calling or something along those lines to some of their assistant coaches. But when I did a little digging, it was not just the Rams. There were a handful of teams that were doing this. So we have the Rams, obviously, McVay completely gave up head coaching, all duties, and gave them to his assistant coach, Aubrey Pleasant, who did the entire game, did a great job too, by the way. Then San Francisco, Shanahan has not called a play all preseason at all. He has given that to his assistant quarterback coach. How random is that? I swear Shanahan's a wackadoodle. All right. And Clay Kubiak. Oh, that's why. Have you heard that name before? Kubiak? Just a little bit. Bit. And so he called them. And then Indianapolis, Shane Steichen had his assistants rotate, taking the responsibility for calling the plays. And it worked really well for them because they had a great game. So good for them. So I want to start with you, Sonia, because you were the one who brought up this topic. Do you think this is a good idea? I have thoughts on both ways. What do you think?
I love it. I love that idea. I love it's preseason, the games mean something, but they don't really mean something, to like a lot of the starters and stuff like that. But I also think it's a good experience just to get these guys some head coaching experience and just to call a game that doesn't really truly matter, but gives them that experience and gives them that chance to kind of do it. And, maybe they do want to test their foot in the water to be a head coach later. And maybe this is like, you know what? I think I'm good. Maybe I need to wait a little bit. But I love that idea. I like that. It kind of also helps like bring along coaches and just kind of, sets them up for bigger success.
So the flip side of that, Kate, in my thought, is it's not like your head coach is going to get hurt and you're going to need a backup. So why are you training someone to take your job, Aaron Rodgers? So what about the flip side of that? Or what are your thoughts on that?
So, unless you've got a looming suspension,
fair,
or you're going to miss some games. For me, it's more the assistant coaches are more involved with what's going on with the second and third string guys that are trying to make the 53-man roster. And I think there's some gamesmanship going on because in this day and age of analytics, when the Browns have an opponent, they know what that coach's tendencies are and how he calls the plays. And if he can take 3 sample games out of that, because they don't really care, and just let his assistants do whatever they want, it gives you no idea what they're going to do week 1. Last year, there were, I think it was 20 head coaches that called either offensive or defensive plays. That's a lot out of 32 teams. Yeah. There was actually an article on Monday Morning Quarterback a year ago where they had what they call bad takes week, and they all write these bad articles. And one of them wrote, the NFL should just make it a rule that head coaches can't call plays. They have enough other stuff to do. You hire a coordinator for a reason. Let your coordinator call plays. I think it's a way for them to pay more attention to what's going on when they have to make those decisions here in a couple of weeks, and just let someone else call the plays, because ultimately it doesn't matter.
So really, that's actually a really good point, Kate. So basically, it takes the head coach away to just evaluate what he's saying, and of course, he knows what's going on. He's got the headset on. He knows exactly what's happening, and that also then gives them the other part of that I thought about that is he can see how that play truly looks, or I know that one of the quotes in the article about Indianapolis, Steichen said, should I have called that? Oh my God, I totally should have called that. And I think that that's good. It maybe keeps them on their toes just a little bit too. It's interesting, the polar opposite views that you get from fans on this, because they're like, I want my head coach dialed in. I want this, that and the other. And it's like, especially the newer coaches. Well, McVay ain't worried about it. He got it. Shanahan's good. He's good to go.
I'd love to get some input from Cowboys fans, because word on the street is Mike McCarthy's going to let Dak Prescott call plays this week. He did it last year in the last preseason game, and they might let him. I don't know that I want my quarterback calling plays. I mean, ultimately, you're right. He's not going to get hurt calling plays, but doesn't he have enough to worry about? Or does that give him a different look at things and a little bit of a more of a rounded picture of the game plan when he's looking at someone like Dak should be talking to his coach. He should know what the game plan is going into it. He shouldn't need this kind of, but it'll be interesting to see if he does it. I wonder if Cowboys fans love it or hate it.
I don't know. That's really good. Although it gives an opportunity. It's like, okay, what did the quarterback see that I didn't see? There's lots of learning opportunities. And really that's what this is about, right? It's about learning. Lisa, do you have a strong feel one way or the other about this?
I just think it's kind of good for the head coach, because it gives the head coach a chance. Like, a lot of them will go up in the booth and just kind of watch, and in the end, they're making the cuts. They're making the assessment who's going to stay on the team, who isn't. So to me, it takes the burden of being able not have to put a game plan together. Stay on the sidelines, pay attention to plays, where you can pay attention to players and situations, and you'll have a headpiece, you'll know what the call is, so you'll be able to watch certain players at different positions. So I think that gives the head coach a little bit more of an opportunity to assess players that might be on the bubble, could make or break some people career with a head coach just solely being able to watch you and see what you're bringing to the table.
Right. Well, John agrees, says you're running basic schemes in preseason. The head coaches can use that time to observe what's happening on the field so they can make roster decisions. It's not a bad plan. It's not a bad plan. The other way to look at it too, and I have a feeling this might be part of McVay's idea, is that it also helps you build your coaching tree, right? And how often do we talk about, well, he's got one hell of a coaching tree underneath of him. And so, that's goes to their legacy a little bit and that sort of thing too. Not that that's the main reason in any way, shape or form, but it's always something to think about. So our good friend Darcy, hi Darcy, he says Dak going to call plays, Jerry's going to let him. For Trey Lance, since Jerry is adamant on him playing all last preseason game. Yeah, I do think it's interesting too. That whole Dak situation is getting more interesting by the minute. So we're going to have to keep an eye on what happens there. Along with Brandon Ayuk, which I texted the girls today, said, I tweeted out the non-news about Brandon Ayuk. One more week. We're going to have to keep talking about that guy. So, all right. So let's move on. So we want to talk about quarterbacks. It was so funny when I was like, all right, ladies, what's on your mind for this week for the show? And Lisa's like, you know exactly what I want to talk about. So I'm like, fine.
Right?
You get to talk about your quarterbacks this week, because there have been a few interesting twists and turns in the quarterbacks. And first of all, there was a couple of starting quarterbacks decided on. Gardner Minshew will be the starter in Vegas. Why did I almost did it, didn't you? Oakland. I did. I almost said it. So it's been a couple of years, Dana, catch up. And so that was interesting. Mixed reaction from the fans on that one. Like, some were like, he has a noodle arm, he can't throw over crap. And then people were like, Gardner Minshew mania. Like, they were all so we'll see what happens there. That was very interesting. We have Jaden Daniels was also named the starting quarterback for the Washington Commanders. No surprise there. I'm sure Lisa's going to tell us how fabulously he's been doing. So, but to move on from that, it was mostly the few. We're waiting for Bo Nix. We know he's coming, and we'll see what happens with those after this next preseason. But Lisa, I said, why don't we look into these rookie QBs and how they've been doing in preseason? How have they been looking to you?
Well, we already know Jaden Daniels, pretty much solidified it. I mean, when he was 10 for 12 and had 2 scoring drives. So that pretty was solid for the Commanders. So no surprise there that he was named the starter. So he's looked really well. The one that is getting a lot of noise is Patriots Drake Mayo. I mean, going into the season, Jared Mayo it was Jacoby Brissett's job. Now Mayo was absolutely non-committal in press conferences this morning of who was going to start. So Drake's been making some noise by having a strong camp, and also the players love him. Players love this kid. It's going to be an interesting last game. It's going to come down to this last game for them, and that's what it's going to do. And if Drake Mayo can pull out a win, a great game, look great, I think he'll get the starting nod. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Patriots do there. Michael Penix Jr., clearly Kirk's job. I mean, he's
100%.
100%, definitely. Bo Nix, every analyst in the whole country said it's just about getting the nod. The interesting thing coming out of Broncos camp is that second spot between Stidham and Wilson.
I don't think there's even
players love Stidham and
right, Zach, but Sean Payton loves Zach. He loves Zach.
I know, so it's it's interesting to there because every single body's talking about Stidham belongs on this team. I mean, the players react to him. So it's interesting to see what's going to happen in Denver with that. And as you said, of course, the Gardner Minshew talk came about. But the one also that started rattling was Spencer Rattler with the Saints. Derek Carr's just had a bad preseason, but he hasn't played a lot. He's not getting a lot of snaps. So it's kind of, I think that's more of a fan-based thing. I hate to say whoever said that about Spencer Rattler made third game. I don't know. I think it's still Derek Carr's team. I think that's just fans making noise of, oh my God, he outplayed him. Yeah, it's still, that's an overreaction.
He did look really good.
He looked good.
We'll talk about that in a minute. Yeah.
Right. We'll talk about that. And that's going to bring me up to Kalen Williams because I had an interesting conversation.
You always call him.
Did I say
it's Caleb?
Caleb. Did I say Caleb?
You do. You say Kalen. You always say
Caleb.
Caleb.
Caleb Williams. It brought up an interesting thing for him, but for somebody who watches film. And one thing we noticed right off better, what I did was his pocket presence. He's great pocket presence. But now that's kind of turned on the kid a little bit because now you have a couple of these analysts coming out saying, well, he's got good pocket presence because he abandons the pocket quick. And they're talking about these preseason, you're supposed to gain a rapport with your quarterback. I mean, your wide receivers. He's not doing that because what he's doing is he's extending plays, which is great. We all love athletic quarterbacks. Look at Patrick Mahomes. He's on his own different planet, but he's very athletic. He's young. He's quick. He's extending plays. They're just asking, why is he extending plays? Is he giving up on plays too soon? Is he not seeing things downfield, so he has to bail out? So it's going to be interesting with him to watch as that progresses because you got to understand we're in preseason right now. These are vanilla defenses right now. These are not. So it's going to be very interesting to watch him in game one. And I'm going to make sure definitely I watch that because when you look at the film and you start looking at things, it's like, wow, you're right. I mean, he took 2 steps up. He saw a defender come, bam, he bailed right out. Didn't stay there. Did not stay in that pocket. He had time to stay in that pocket, but he bailed out. And of course, made separation.
He doesn't trust his line.
So, I mean, you can only bail out so many times.
When he's not going to play this week, there's no way. When we have Kansas City, there's no way he's playing.
No, they're not going to play. My opinion, he should. That's just me. I think he should.
The only way he's going to learn to trust the line is to play with them and stay in the pocket. And
especially if you're going to have first string, I understand it, but he's going to need it because he's just going to get. You got to love it. You if you're a Bears fan, you're excited. I'm excited for him. I love the kid. You guys, I love his pocket presence. He's got a little bit of a learning curve because when you start listening to him,
he's super young.
He's going to have to trust his line. He's going to have to, give his receiver times to make that separation. You've got to get the timing down with your receivers. And a lot of the analysts are like, look, I watched it. He doesn't have it yet. Yeah. Because he's bailing out so quick. And yes, he's making dynamic plays because of course, broken plays means somebody's going to be open somewhere. Great arm, great accuracy. So it's going to be interesting to see him play and I'm excited to see it. So, but I know you're into the Anthony Richardson. We're going back into the 2023
Yeah,
draft.
we'll talk about them here in just a little bit. Yeah.
So coming up, but like I said, I don't see anything. The first games are all going to be. We're going to see who's for real and who's not. We've got CJ Stroud coming off 2023 season. We've got Anthony Richards coming off of that season. So it's going to be a dynamic quarterback.
Right.
2 classes.
Let's some of these comments that we've gotten here. So JJ McCarthy looked good until his knee took him out of the season.
JJ.
Yeah, JJ did look good.
That makes Sam Darnold the starter, right? Like there's no competition now.
Yeah.
No, it's just
so it's almost like they didn't. I didn't see an official announcement, but there's nobody left.
There's nobody else, right?
Yeah.
And then John also said it's really hard to judge rookies in the preseason. Justin Fields looked like a world beater in preseason, and now they're looking to make him a kick returner. We'll see what happens there. This is interesting. A Big Red has to say pocket presence is great, but if you don't have a great line, there is no pocket. And that's, I think, what we have to wait and see.
Yeah, that's what you're going to have to watch.
Camden's here. I told you she'd be here eventually. Hi, Camden. So the thing of it is this. You don't know what any of this is going to look like. And if he's already bailing because he's maybe afraid of getting hurt, maybe he doesn't trust his line, maybe whatever, maybe he's trying to be flashy because God knows Caleb Williams likes to be flashy. And so, but that's not even like your starters coming at you. So he's
right. And that's what's
learn that.
That's what a lot of the analysts are saying. And on tape, a lot of them aren't liking what they're seeing because they're like, this is the time you need to be throwing to your receivers in the pocket. This is the time you need to be working on timing and stuff like that. But he's bailing out so fast that he's not getting it. So
sure. Sonia, of all of these rookie quarterbacks, at least the ones that we know for sure are going to play, is there one that you should have a feeling about that might be,
decent?
The guy? Like
the guy?
This year's CJ Stroud?
This year's CJ Stroud, right.
I don't really have a good feeling about anybody being this year's CJ Stroud. And that doesn't mean that I don't think that they'll be successful. I just don't think that they'll have that good of a season. Maybe Jaden Daniels. Maybe. I think he probably right now kind of has the least amount of pressure, if you will.
Okay.
I mean, you think about Caleb Williams, he's got a lot on his shoulders. And so I think that he has to, manage that. I think Jaden Daniels, he's coming into a new system. He's got a new head coach. Like the head coach is new. So I think it's a whole new thing. Could it be like the Texans? Don't know. But potentially he could be. Yeah, we'll have to see. I don't see that, but no.
What about you, Kate?
I agree with Sonia. I don't know that another team did as much as the Texans did to set the table for CJ Stroud. There's a lot of very talented rookies that are going to play this year, but I don't know if the rest of the team will make them look as good as they are. I'm pulling for Bryce Young in Carolina. I know he's not a rookie. I know it's his second season.
Well, you're going to talk about him though. Yep.
But he's the one I'm going to keep an eye on to see if that team has done enough to help him live up to his potential. But are there 3 teams that still haven't officially decided? Pittsburgh, New England, and Denver? Has everyone else?
Well, if you listen to Mike Tomlin, he has said it's Russ's job, but I don't think they've officially come out. And he's been their starter in all of their depth charts, which we know in preseason doesn't really mean anything, but he has been put there. And then what were the other teams you said?
New England
and Denver.
Between Jacoby Brissett and Drake May, and then the Broncos.
I think those are really the only
Stidham and Zach and Bo.
Yeah. Well, Bo Nix is going to get that starter.
Yeah, they're pretty. Yeah, they're pretty adamant.
It's more that second QB, I think.
That second Q.
Yeah, for sure. And then Lisa was absolutely right. Drake May has made a lot of noise, and so we'll see what Mayo decides to do there. I think as a rookie head coach, it might be smarter to stick with. I don't know. Was it one of you guys that said it's easier when maybe Lisa was when you and I were talking about Russell Wilson and Fields, that it would be easier to go from Wilson to Fields than Fields.
Yes, then
Wilson.
That's what they say. If you go to Fields and you pull him, this young kid, and put Russell back in, Fields is done. It's over.
He'll be cooked. And I feel that way too about the Brissett May situation. You can give Jacoby, and if he's not doing well, you can go to May and say, okay, listen, we're going to develop the kid. You know what I mean? I think that's a little bit easier. So Let me see. What else we got? Let's see. We got Big Red. Big Red still thumping the table for Spencer.
You
Spencer's
are.
great. He took pro style from South Carolina. Is really good fit for the league. He will flourish. I'm excited to see him. I am excited
Same.
to see him. Yeah, I think that'll be good. And then
I think it's a little bit of an overreaction right now.
yeah. John says, I feel a little bad for Kirk in Atlanta. Drafting Penix was very disrespectful, but I think Kurt will get over it while he counts his money. Amen. Right? Man, those game checks make things a lot easier to deal with, don't they?
Seriously.
It's amazing. Yep. And then John, who is our Vikings fan, he says Darnold is our starter. Mullins will be the backup. So not exactly thunder and lightning, but maybe a little Butch and Sundance. Sam Darnold is consistent. And what else can you ask for when your starter's down, right? That's all you can ask for.
Well, you should be used to that. He's beige 2.0.
Right.
He's 2.0.
He is a little bit. And then Camden says the Falcons are acting like Penix's Stroud. Yet they're hyping him up for
They're
having
trying.
Kirk Cousins to start.
They're trying.
We're not sure what's going on there. All right. We did decide we were going to talk about the 2023 quarterbacks too, because that was such an interesting class. It came out. We had CJ Stroud, and then Anthony Richardson. I have to flip my page. So sorry. And then Bryce Young, and then Will Levis. Those are really the starters from that class. And I read a great article. So Ben Arthur, I don't know if you guys follow him on Twitter. If you don't, you should. It's at Benny, Beny, Arthur, Arthur. He wrote a great article for Fox Sports about these guys, about what they needed to do in order to continue or up their success from last year. What do they need to do? Because we always talk about from year 1 to year 2 is the biggest jump, right? And so not on every position, some positions it's really year 2 to 3, but you see a lot of jump in this one. So CJ, he started with, obviously he had 64% completion, 4,108 yards. He had 23 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. They killed it in the playoffs. It was such an impressive team. Lisa, I think you are correct. Or no, I'm sorry. Sonia, you are correct. That was a team effort. The way the Texans put that team together. But think about it. I mean, they have Stephon Diggs, whether you think he's an asset or not, they picked him up. They have Tank Dell back. They have all these weapons for CJ Stroud to continue, hopefully, what he was doing before. And so Ben said, really, he just needs to maintain what he was doing and let the rest of the team step it up at the same time. Can't ask much more from the kid, for sure. Then you talk about Anthony Richardson. This is the one I'm so excited about.
Same.
I will tell you, and I'm not just saying this so I can say I interviewed him, but I interviewed him at the draft that year in Kansas City. And the nicest, kindest, sweetest, answered every question, this really low, deep voice, just mellow. Everyone wanted to be around him. Very well liked, really liked this guy. So when he got hurt last year, I was just heartbroken for him because I really wanted him to do well. He obviously only played 4 games last season, right? He had 3 passing touchdowns, 1 interception. He had 25 he was 4 touchdowns rushing. So, I mean, he's got some things that he can play with, right? So I think more than anything, it's just he's going to have to stay healthy and I don't know, hopefully stay on the field. But I think they're going to be good. Everyone's all in on Indy this year. Then you have Bryce Young. Make the face. Oof. Yeah. He technically had a 59% completion, right? Yeah. 2877 yards, 11 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. My thought on this one, and this is the one, I'm going to get your thoughts on all of them, but new coach, new year, right? Like this kid has to take advantage. And his head coach really seems to like him, who's a new head coach. His last head coach was fired after 11 games. So we can blame some of that on the coach. We'll have to see what happens there with Bryce Young. I'm rooting for the Kim. They have put a few more weapons around him. So we'll see what happens. Then there's Will Levis, who has a mayonnaise perfume. Did you hear about this?
What?
You did not hear about this? So, he likes mayonnaise a lot. And so they have a perfume that's something ode to mayonnaise, but it's not really mayonnaise. And I guess it smells really good. And it's freaking sold out. It's the stupidest thing. Look it up. It's the stupidest gimmick I've ever heard in my entire life. Anyway, he played 9 games last season, 58.4% completion, 1,800 yards, 8 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He has some new tools around him. And he has, I think, just that little bit of experience. Hopefully we'll see some consistent play out of him. Because remember, he was the hit or miss quarterback, right? He was the one who did not stick around because he was going in the second round and threw that fit. And it's like, can he step up and be the guy that everyone thought he was going to be? So we'll see. Of those 4, Lisa, keep it short. Keep it short.
I'm good. I got this.
Take CJ Stroud out of the mix because we
Okay.
know that he's good. Of the other 3, who do you expect the most out of?
Anthony Richardson.
Me too.
Mhm.
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Go ahead. Why?
Just because he was playing well when he got hurt. He was coming on. So I think he just needs to pick up where he left off. And I think he'll be fine. So he's the one that I'm anxious to see just pick up where he left off, to be honest with you. So I think out of those 3 that you said, he, to me, has the biggest upswing out of all of them. So I think from listening to the commentators and stuff like that, that he'll probably just pick up right where he left off and just continue to get better every game. Because you got to understand, this is almost going to be like a rookie season for him again, right? He only started 4 games. So you can't, expect tremendous things, but you're going to want to see what we were seeing. We were seeing him getting gradually better every game. That's what you're going to look for this season, every single game, to get better, better, better. So I think the Colts should be excited that, hopefully he'll pick up right where he left off and get him in the playoffs this year. And that's what you're kind of hoping, just that the kid, by the end of the year is lights out. You're solid, that this is going to be your franchise quarterback going on, and just continue to get better every game.
Right. So Big Red in the comments says, if Anthony Richardson is throwing on his with no pressure, he can throw a mile. Under pressure, I'm not so sure. I think but that's the stuff we need to learn this year, right? Like that's the consistency stuff I think we need to see out of Richardson.
The kid's got a rocket arm, bro. What are you looking at, Big Red?
Well, no, he does, but under pressure, he does. Yeah, I know that was one of his criticisms coming out of college. So we'll see. Yeah, for sure.
That kid's got a rocket ship.
Yeah. Kate, what about you?
So, I mean, Bryce Young is who I want to keep an eye on. I agree about Anthony Richardson. Some of the other guys that were taken in the draft have backup roles. DTR is not going to see a snap in Cleveland. He's got to get through 3 or 4 other guys. Tommy DeVito saw some time with the Giants last year. Depending on how Daniel Jones does, we may see him again. Aiden O'Connell with the Raiders. I don't know how long the Gardner Minshew experiment will go on, but I feel like we'll see Aiden at some point. I agree about Anthony Richardson, but I also think it's easy. He didn't have a whole year like Bryce Young did, where you've got to combat all the whatever bad you saw last year. And I apologize for my lighting. It got dark here really quick in Cleveland. I don't know if there's a storm coming through or what, but it got dark quick. I'm just really, I think Bryce Young's got a lot of work to do. He's got a lot of things to prove. Richardson didn't have anything to prove. He played 4 games. He got hurt. He's got all year to figure out what's going on. Panther fans are not going to give Bryce Young more than 6 weeks before they are screaming and yelling. And
it's true.
And I mean, I don't know that Andy Dalton is who they want to see play, but that's, who their backup is.
Is it
they've
really?
They've got Jonathan Mingo, Adam Thielen, and Deontay Johnson are like their top 3 wide receivers. They've got no running game. I don't care if your name's Chuba, whatever his name is. They've got no running game. They've got to figure that out if Bryce Young's going to have any chance. So he's got people to throw to. I feel like Adam Thielen is one of those guys who's a veteran. He's been around long and he's a good dude. And so he will be doing whatever he can to help those other receivers start to get some stuff going with him. So that's who I'm going to be watching.
My only counter to what you said is, let's see, how many, hold on. I got to flip my page back. Hold on.
Flip the page.
John, we're not talking about arrests and my Browns. No.
Whoa.
No. That's a whole other show.
I forgot to write down how many yards Richardson had, but I think that to get to where Bryce Young was last year wouldn't have been a bar stretch at 2,800 or 2,700 for sure. But we'll see. But again, coaching, talent around. I mean, there's so many things there. So that'll be good. And his coach was really praising him on Sirius XM NFL Network about his work ethic, about the types of throws he can play that were never used last year, which were so confusing to this new coach. And so that'll be interesting to kind of see how they use them different for sure. So, all right. So I have a couple comments here. It's fine. No, it's all good. It's all good. Okay. So John says Scott Farkas is in Carolina. Yes, he is Scott Farkas. God love him. So it'll be interesting. Listen, God love Big Red. Tom Brady could play in Carolina right now and not be able to consistently win without a better O-line. I think maybe that's confused, or that is true. And then Camden's like, DeVito's better than Jones. Is being better than Jones is not an accomplishment, but New York will act like it is.
They will, won't they?
They absolutely will. They absolutely will. All right, Sonia, your turn. Of all of these guys, now, Sonia, I'm going to give it to you this year's rookies, last year's rookies, right?
Ooh,
Who do you think makes the biggest? We're removing CJ Stroud. He does not count. We can even take Anthony Richardson out of it now since we don't necessarily
put some pressure on that girl. There you go.
Who makes the biggest splash?
This year's QBs. This year's QBs, honestly, I think that they are, if you take out Richardson and if you take out Stroud and you're left with Will Levis and Bryce Young, right there, I think you've got a bigger group, a bigger splash could happen with this year's quarterbacks. I think they are a little bit more talented than those two. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing this. If you have to give me those two, I'm looking forward to seeing this year's quarterbacks.
John says, say Will Levis. Just say Will Levis. No, we don't. We are going. I can't with mayonnaise or perfume.
That's crazy. I'm going to look that up.
Parfum de Mayonnaise by Hellman's, $8 a bottle.
God, that is crazy. So I think we're all in agreement that Bryce Young has the highest mountain to climb. I think
I agree.
Yes,
and
we'll see what happens with Will Levis off the top. Let me tell you.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of with Bryce. I feel like it's a do-over. With him, a new coach. Let's maybe play to his strengths. Maybe get a little bit more out of him. But another quarterback, once again, wipe the slate clean. This is going to be your rookie year, son. This is going to be your new rookie year. Start
new
over.
Staff, new weapons, new everything. Yeah.
And Lisa, this is something you always talk about. Bryce Young was picked number 1 overall.
Yep.
Will Levis went in the second round. It's like, okay, dude, you were a second rounder. Do what you do. But Bryce, you went first. And he's got CJ.
To the worst team in the league, which is always the screwy part for them.
Right. And now you're always going to be compared.
They're going to be doing the CJ things, just like we did with Mariota and Winston and all those. He's got to deal with that. Mentally, I think he has a bigger challenge than Will Levis has.
And that's funny is because when you talk about that and you listen to the analysts, the way they were talking, and you've got to understand with all of us and the generations of players, and it's coming out now, like with Tua and this generation of quarterbacks from the last 10 years, you got to handle it's sad to say for me because I was used to the tough love coaches, right? That coach them hard. These guys want to be coddled and gloved and loved. That's what they were talking about. And
Tom Brady said it last week that they were soft, that they're altering the game and the way they treat them and the play calling and stuff, and that quarterbacks are soft.
And it's hard for us because we're used to it.
Tom Brady called someone else soft.
Tom Brady called quarterbacks soft.
Yes, because of Tua's comments.
Pete Kettle.
Yeah. Tua's coming out saying that Flores was so hard.
Flores admitted that today.
Well,
that's
not
the way
straight up coaches, though, guys.
But no, he says he's learned a lot because he had to, probably.
Yeah, because you got to learn how to go with this generation. And do you remember when we had? He was one of our first coaches interview when we had it. Remember with Tom Coughlin? We did that interview. That was the one thing Tom said from his coaching style when he first started coaching with Bill Parcells and all them. How it was like in Don Shula 2-a-days. You ran till you almost dropped. And he had to adapt to all the changes. Yep. It's the same thing now with these quarterbacks. They want to be loved. So it's
true. All right. Listen, if I don't cut Lisa off.
The way wide receivers used to be the divas on the team. Now it's the quarterbacks.
Well, it was the cornerbacks, then the wide receivers. And it's a cyclical event. If I don't cut them off, they'll talk about quarterbacks all night. So I've got to cut them off because we have gone over for sure in our time. Of course, I want to thank everyone in our chat. Oh, Camden,
Camden.
I gotta say it.
Camden.
Camden says Russell Wilson was soft. Pete Carroll protected him all the time.
I told you guys, Super Bowl champion Russell Wilson. Okay, get it right.
That's true. That's true. All right. Yeah, she did. As long as we remember he won a Super Bowl. So, all right, everybody, that is our show for tonight. I'm sorry we went 10 minutes over. We always do. We just can't help ourselves. We want to thank, of course, Donkeys for sponsoring our podcast. We want to thank everyone in our chat. If you guys see this on Facebook or on Twitter, and you guys can join us live, because this is the type of conversation we like to have. We like to share your thoughts on the air. We like to chit chat with you. We have our regulars, which we love and adore. And thanks so much for coming on. But so if you have the time, please join us every Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern time, 5 p.m. Pacific time, right here on YouTube. We'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.
Thanks, John.